Let's imagine we do not want to create our website ourselves, but let somebody else do it for us. In this case, we would have to give an exact description of the site we have in mind. To make sure that the result actually resembles our wishes, we would have to answer 3 essential questions. What can be seen? What should it look like? And how should it work? If we want our programmer to do his job, we need to give him these answers in a language both we and he can understand. Therefore, we would most likely choose a contractor who is fluent in English and can build the website according to our description. Now, we do not want to have another person building the website for us, but we want to do it on our own. In this case, the internet browser of the user is our contractor. We want it to display the site as we imagine it. In order to be able to do so, the browser needs the exact same information we would have given the person who would have created the site for us. We need to describe the structure, style and functionality of the site. Unfortunately, the browser does not speak English or any other regular human language. To make things worse, we cannot choose which browser will be used to display our site, as this decision is being made by the user who is visiting it. This might be problematic if every browser spoke a different language, since we would have to describe it multiple times, once for every browser. To some degree, this actually used to be the case in the past. But as the amount of available browsers, websites and users grew, it turned out to be really unfeasible to provide every site in all those different variations. Therefore, the Web Standards movement was created, with the intent to defeat the chaos and form a certain uniformity in the world of the internet. When choosing the new standard technologies, it was especially important to them that they could be used to create appropriate and appealing content while being highly accessible. The result is nothing the movement has to be ashamed of, since nowadays every single one of the major browsers is able to understand the same 3 languages. Every single one of these 3 languages is used to answer one of the 3 questions from the beginning. HTML describes the structure of the site. It tells us what should be displayed. CSS is used to describe the style of the elements on a site. It tells us what they should look like. And JavaScript delivers the functionality. It describes what the elements or the entire site should do. There is incredibly much to learn about these 3 components on a website, and we will cover all of them in detail in future videos, so subscribe to the channel to stay tuned. But for now, let's have a look at these 3 languages from a higher level perspective. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and it could be called the heart of every website. While CSS and JavaScript are completely optional, HTML is a true must for every website. You can create entire websites using only HTML, even though they won't look very pretty. But a website without HTML cannot exist, because without the what of a website, there's nothing to be seen. But why do we even need a language like HTML to describe what should be visible? In order to understand it, it can help to go back into the years 1989 and 1990, when HTML was invented. Back then, the internet was mainly used to transmit and exchange scientific and military documents and papers. Such texts are often extremely long, and their structure is important to understand the meaning of their content. Without HTML, however, it was only possible to transmit plain text, without any formatting or structure whatsoever. There was no possibility to tell the browser that a word should be displayed as bold, italic or underlined, or that a term is meant to be a heading or a bullet point in a listing. Neither was it possible to reference other documents and sources, an essential feature of scientific papers. There was really just pure text, and that was a huge problem. In order to create all these possibilities, HTML was invented, a markup language that enables us to give structure to a text. Now it was possible to transmit the elements of a document with the original context and tell the browser that a heading actually is one. And even references to other documents, so-called hyperlinks, could be introduced. If we imagine websites to be living creatures, HTML would be its skeleton, keeping all the parts in their place. CSS, on the other hand, would be the skin, hair or fur. It describes what the elements of a site that were defined in HTML should look like. The abbreviation stands for Cascading Style Sheets, while this term does not nearly describe the possibilities that come with CSS, as it allows for far more than just changing the color or font size. Aside from changing the plain look of the elements, they can also be animated, which allows for unbelievable creations. CSS also enables us to define how the document should be displayed on different media, guaranteeing a great impression on any device and even in printed or spoken form. HTML and CSS allow us to create beautiful websites, but you cannot actually do much with them. This is where JavaScript comes into play. JavaScript allows us to add logic to the site, perform calculations and request data from a database, or simply put, make our websites interactive. It is only thanks to JavaScript that we are able to play games in our browsers, log into our social media accounts, or do online banking. This is due to the fact that, unlike HTML and CSS, JavaScript is not a markup language, but a programming language. This means that it is able to represent complex logical processes and therefore provide functionality. If websites were living creatures, JavaScript would be the muscles, allowing them to do things. If you combine these three languages, the possibilities are nearly limitless. There is so infinitely much you can create, so if you are now thrilled to get started and learn how you can do that, subscribe to our channel and watch our other videos, because here you will learn everything you need to master HTML, CSS and JavaScript.